Good morning and welcome. We are delighted that you have decided to join us today for our Sunday morning celebration service right here at Unity of Citrus County. We invite you to get settled in. Our service is about to begin in just a few moments. It is our sincere prayer that the music, the meditation, and the message will uplift you and inspire you to become the light of the world that you have come here to be. We invite you to come and visit us in person. We would love to meet you. And we invite you to also visit our website at www.unityofcitrus.org. Have a blessed day.
Wherever you're from, you are home.
The world needs now. I'll tell you what the world needs now, but I believe most of you already know. Does anybody have a guess? It is. It's you. Absolutely you. In all your pain, your joy, your sorrow, your lightness, your darkness. It's you. Absolutely you. Oh God, it can't be me. It can't be me. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of the Unity Movement, I want to quote from his book, Atom Smashing Power of the Mind. Mary has taught this, and his writings kind of throw me away, but there's this one quote from that book that I want to talk about. I quote, "The time is at hand for those who are spiritually ripe to stand forth and realize their spiritual identity." Are you spiritually ripe? Do you realize your own spiritual identity? Quiet. What does this mean? What does this mean? As fruit ripens, it matures. That kind of ripening happens in us also. It is a maturing of our spiritual awareness, our spiritual understanding of God, and our unfoldment of knowing who and what we are. How do we do that? Spiritual nourishment comes from prayer, meditation, and our thoughts are fed with the truth through books, through classes, and just being around like-minded people. Also, it is up to you to seek the truth from within. It's in every single one of us. You need to explore. Eric Butterworth, one of my favorite, he was a Unity minister, he believes, and I quote, "Fundamentalists believe Jesus was God becoming man. I believe that Jesus was man becoming God." Goosebumps? I love that. I love that. And that doesn't mean that at some point we will magically be something different than what we are now, God's perfect image, but what we already are as God's expression. We are all born with this unlimited potential. 2 Timothy 1, verse 16 states, "Rekindle the gift of God that is within you." Notice the word rekindle. That is an acknowledgement of what we already have within us. Arouse what is in you. Fire it up. Wake it up. Stir it up. It is up to us to ripen, to bring to completeness, perfection and wholeness, the gift of God that is within you. Ultimately, the truth within you will emerge, and you will not be able to contain it or hold it back. That's the fun part. This is spiritual maturity. A spiritually mature person actively honors all beings and recognizes we are all interconnected, diverse, and unique. Yes, You are what the world needs right now. So let your light radiate to all around you and become the beacon of inspiration to all the vessels on the dark, open sea. Wake up. Namaste.
I'm the next one. I don't know if I'm going to be as exciting as Rhonda, but she always gives a wonderful message, and I love her meditations. When I saw that title, and we talked about it at our last meeting, what the world needs now, I said, oh yeah, love. Everybody knows that. But for me, there was another word. And what I heard when I started questioning was faith. And I thought, well, okay, faith. Everybody has faith in some form or other. And for me, faith was this morning when my printer stopped working. And I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I heard a voice, very loud, very clear, like it was standing right next to me, that said, for God's sakes, Mary, you gotta have faith. And so faith was called into action this morning to get my printer printing. Otherwise, I'd be winging it. I have to admit that I had a lot of difficulty in preparing for this message today. I was raised Catholic. I had 16 years of Catholic education. Not ashamed of it. It did a lot of good for me. But I didn't realize I took my faith for granted. I never gave any thought to it, not at all, except when I was in need. So I went on a search through my many books, and I have a lot of books, a lot of bookcases filled with books. And I found a few things. I found faith is the things hoped for but not seen. That's from Hebrews 11, verse 1. Faith is trust in God by any name. It's trust. And faith is the foundation for living. But most important, faith gives us the ability to love. And where would we be without love? We have the love of God, the love of Jesus, the love of our families and friends. Oh, can I have my book, Rhonda? Thank you. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said, faith is the perceiving power of our minds. It brings the power to shape our lives and the power to do the seemingly impossible. And obviously Charles did, because every night for a few years, he sat in a chair and spoke to the higher realm, the higher principle, God. And do you know that he grew his short leg 2 inches over time? He had tuberculosis of the hip as a child and walked with a very large block in his shoe. And then you have Myrtle, who felt she inherited tuberculosis and many other ills from her family. But she heard a preacher say, no, you are a child of God and you do not inherit disease. And there was faith. And she sat every night for 2 years and praised and forgave herself and forgave her body. And she lived to 80 some odd years old, and she was supposed to die at the age of 30. So that is faith, that belief. We all have it in ourselves. And sometimes I think, for myself, I forget how to use it. Charles has, this is a wonderful book anyway. If anybody wants to know anything about their philosophy and their principles, go to the bookstore. It's called Dynamics for Living. And he has a treatment to develop faith. The understanding of spirit clarifies my faith. My faith is of God and in God. My faith grows greater day by day because it is planted in truth, and through it, the mountains of mortal error are moved into the sea of nothingness. My doubts and fears are dissolved and dissipated. In confidence and peace, I rest in God's unchangeable law. My faith comprehends the beauty of wholeness. I am persuaded that God is able, that he is willing, and that he is eager to give me whatsoever I ask. And we have to remember to ask. My friends, when they say something to me, and I always say to them, well, have you asked? And they say, well, no, I haven't. I said, well, you have to ask so that you'll get the answer. Myrtle Fillmore, in her book, Healing Letters, said, faith must be active and have faith in yourself. And that's what we tend not to do. We think that faith is out there somewhere else. And when I went to the dictionary, I found that the word faith can be used both as a noun and a verb. And of course, when we put it into action, that's how we accomplish our dreams. We have to remember to just ask, not to beg, not to plead. And we have to affirm a trust in God. Remember, Jesus said, according to your will be it done. That means we can do it. Remember the lady who touched his hem of his garment and was healed. I have to admit, after doing this, I did a lot of affirming of old habits. And old habits did try to kick in as I was getting this ready. And I found myself saying, okay, I trust in you, God. I know you're going to get me through this. And as I was thinking about faith, what came to me was the faith that the few people who started this church from nothing, from a small storefront in in a woman's living room, a storefront in Homosassa, a room in a funeral home, and then a building in Inverness, and now here. If they did not have that commitment of faith, knowing the truth of what they were affirming, we wouldn't be here. This building wouldn't be here. We might be someplace else, in another church maybe. But would we be here? Because there is a lure, a pull to the energy of this church, of this place, of this property. That is faith, truly faith. And they use the tools that we all know here from Unity. The tools of, and they have a giant toolbox. They had a very giant toolbox to get this to the point here. They use prayer, meditation, right thinking that nothing could be impossible. Most important, not seeing lack. and affirmations and denials. We get caught into that lack thought. Even in my own life, I do. So they trusted and believed, and most important, they made a commitment, growing and nurturing their seeds of faith to build this community. And I ask you to remember, we have those same tools. And they knew that God answered prayers. There was one minister from Inverness. Her name was Reverend Emily. She was wonderful. And she would say to me, "Trust in God, Mary. Use that voice of yours. Remember, faith is always there." And because of her, I found that. And I have found, we were talking about this in class the other day, that there's a certain vibration that's built up when you repeat the name of God many times. I heard somebody had repeated it 500 times, and they were healed. Because that energy, that's God's name, flows through us into every cell of our body, cleaning and erasing and giving it a good scrubbing. So what do we do when we manifest this type of praying? What are the gifts that we get? What do you think? Any ideas, anybody?
Strength.
I'm sorry, what?
Strength.
Yes, that is one. Another?
Peace.
Yes. And love, and wholeness, joy, and faith again. And so going through this search and this exploration of where my faith was and where it's going and how strong it is and how I can put it to use. In today's day, it may be aware we are all facing many challenges. We went through COVID. We hear all this terrible news. There's war, there's death, there's illness. People are fearful another plague is coming. Don't give any of that. Don't give that power. That's all an illusion that we give that power to. So I want to leave you with two quotes from two famous people. And I'm sure you will remember this one. "Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you are going to get." That, of course, was Forrest Gump. I can still see him sitting on the bench talking to the lady. But this one really caught me. So when the day's challenges overtake me, and I suggest overtake you, remember this from the author of Peter Pan, James Barrie. He said, "All the world is made of faith and trust and pixie dust." So make sure you take your pixie dust with you every day. Namaste, everyone.
Pixie dust. So what does the world need? Love. Love is a universal need. We all need love. It is our nurturer in life. It brings truth to every cell and experience that we have. There is only one definition of God in the Bible. God is love. From 1 John chapter 4, verse 7, my beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. God is love. When we are connected to this universal wisdom within us, we then can accept our true potential. We are unlimited, free, filled with inner peace, joy, a sense of mattering, tenderness, and wholeness. It's an unknowing but knowing presence of that inner energy of God. From Cher and Bill Holden, they quote, "It is our rock, the foundation, the eternal harmonics of our spiritual and human happiness. Love is the ultimate expression of our belief in our oneness with Spirit. It is a spiritual glue that unites us with the 7 billion expressions of it around the world. Love is all there is. We just have to climb out from behind our error filters long enough for us to see, feel it, and express it. Love is the open sesame. So we just need to learn to climb out from behind our error filters long enough to see it, feel it, and express it. When we are connected to love, our Christ consciousness, that divinity within us, remains awake, and our humanness dies away. We walk with a new awareness and oneness. We can expand our vision when we see love. Myrtle Fillmore applied this God glue of love to transform her error filters around who she had thought that she was, limited and unhealthy. Myrtle did not have the language or understanding of God. Myrtle even reported during her childhood there was no real understanding of God as the health and the love of every single person. She quotes, "I did not even know how to disconnect myself from the hereditary thoughts of all this weakness." Can anyone relate? When we have those hereditary thoughts of weakness, when we struggle outside, that is the wonderful time to travel in. Having thoughts that aren't in alignment with the power of God glue is our harmonizing force. All of these changes begin in our mind. And being mindful of the thoughts that we hold in our mind. God can sustain us in every moment of shining the light of truth. It is a daily practice, and sometimes minute to minute, to be conscious of our thoughts. When do we stop loving? When do we stop loving ourselves? When do we stop loving others? Can we call on God glue at that time? Myrtle Fillmore quotes, "The words of truth wisely selected and understood and used are like a seed which allowed to do so take root in the mind, where marvelous changes go on. If enough attention and sustenance are given these seed thoughts and words, there will be real growth and splendid fruits in due season." We cannot live something we don't understand. The only way to understand is to practice each one of our principles in all our daily tasks in our mind and with others. We begin to experience transformation, an inner transformation. So where do we find love? Inside our inner space, that magical space of affirming, I am connected. I am experiencing God in this moment. It's allowing us to release any thoughts that do not affirm that loving presence. Express gratitude to everyone by offering our precious gifts. Serve. As we give, we receive. Use thoughts with denials and affirmation. Every time a thought is occurring that is not in alignment, it's a wonderful opportunity to say, I release that thought, so I do not continue to carry hereditary thoughts that are not affirming your truth. Use the I am to affirm oneness with God, filling each cell in our body with love. I am divine with understanding and power. Each day, ask yourself, what can I do to take care of my body? And today, what can I do to take care of my mind? And today, what can I do to remind myself that I am spirit? Forgive freely. Love is everywhere present, right here and right now. And love sees that everything belongs. Myrtle and Charles wanted everyone to experience an inner healing by tapping into this mighty power of God through practice and renewal. Unity is about personal transformation. So may we hold hands as we all awaken together. Love changes our world. So what is love? It's a universal need. Use it daily. Plug into love and that God power, our God glue, that connects us to the truth of who we are. We are all one, and we are all connected to love. Namaste.